My name is Karen A. Romanko. I'll be talking today about women of science fiction, fantasy, mystery, and espionage, focusing on TV pioneers in those genres. I've written 2 books which will serve as touchstones for this talk. The first book is Television's Female Spies and Crime Fighters, published by McFarland in 2016. It covers 350 characters from 1950 to 2014. The cover model is Barbara Feldon, who played Agent 99 in Get Smart. The second book is Women of Science Fiction and Fantasy Television, published by McFarland in 2019. It covers 400 characters from 1950 to 2016. The cover model is Katie Saylor, who played Liana on The Fantastic Journey. I'll be focusing on female characters from television's early days in the 1950s. I love TV history, and these characters hold the most fascination for me personally. But they are also the groundbreakers, those who showed that a woman could be a lead or a co-lead in a series that took women outside their traditional realm of the home and family. We should remember their names. I'll begin by discussing 3 mystery and espionage series. The Gallery of Madame Liu-Tsong, a 1951 series that ran for 10 episodes and starred Anna May Wong. Rendezvous, a 1952 series that ran for 4 episodes and starred Ilona Massey. And Decoy Policewoman, a series that ran from 1957 to 58 and starred Beverly Garland. Female detectives weren't exactly foreign to television during the 1950s, but most were amateur sleuths, and usually appended to a husband as part of what I like to call an adorable sleuthing couple. Examples include Connie Conway and the Detective's Wife, Pamela North and Mr. and Mrs. North, and Nora Charles and The Thin Man. A few trailblazing women, however, carried series on their own as leads, and their characters had careers which led them directly or indirectly to crime solving or espionage. An early example was the Gallery of Madame Liu-Tsong, which ran on the Dumont television network. Anna May Wong starred as Liu-Tsong, owner of a gallery specializing in Chinese art. In the course of her business dealings, Liu-Tsong becomes involved in mystery and foreign intrigue. The part was written especially for Wong, a well-known film actress, and she was a trailblazer, both as a female series lead and as an Asian American series lead. Unfortunately for modern audiences, no episodes of this groundbreaking series are known to exist today. In a tragic and inconceivable story, most of the Dumont Network's archive of kinescopes was dumped literally into the Hudson River. The series is a lost treasure of early television. Rendezvous was another series with the female lead who was known for her film work. Ilona Massey starred as French singer and intelligence operative Nikki Angel in the short-lived adventure series. A member of the French resistance during World War II, Angel is a singer at her own Paris nightclub, Chez Nikki, while covertly battling communist agents and other elements who would subvert France and democracy. In addition to entertaining at the club and, of course, espionage, Nikki finds time for romance with a newspaper reporter played by David McKay. Although it seems barely a blip on the small screen's radar, Rendezvous is noteworthy for featuring TV's first female spy as a lead character. Another first for female lead characters occurred in Decoy, also known as Policewoman Decoy and Decoy Policewoman. While we might think that the history of policewomen as lead characters on TV began with Cagney and Lacey in the 80s, or Angie Dickinson's Policewoman in the 70s, it actually starts decades earlier with Decoy in 1957. Beverly Garland portrays Casey Jones, an undercover policewoman with the New York City Police Department. She poses as a blackmailer, nurse, gun moll, or exotic dancer to catch crooks in the act, and her cases take her all over New York, to basketball games, racetracks, amusement parks, and society parties. Other than the groundbreaking characters of Jones, Angel, and Liu-Tsong, working women in the mystery and espionage shows of the 50s were generally not part of the main action and held down the fort as secretaries and receptionists. Next, I'll talk about pioneering female characters in 3 science fiction and fantasy series. Space Patrol, which ran from 1950 to 55 and had 2 women in its main cast, Nina Barra and Virginia Hewitt, pictured here with Ed Kemmer. Rocky Jones' Space Ranger, a 1954 series, also with 2 women in its main cast, Patsy Parsons and Sally Mansfield, pictured here with Richard Crane. And finally, Adventures of Superman, which ran from 1952 to 58, and had 2 women who appeared as Lois Lane, Noel Neill and her predecessor Phyllis Coates, shown here with George Reeves. In 1950, when television was still young, only 1/3 of women participated in the labor force. While women's place may have been in the home at that time, the space operas of the era took women as far away from home as they could get, often across the galaxy, and portrayed them as having scientific achievements, piloting skills, and courage, not merely as damsels in distress. Men were still the leaders, but women were an invaluable part of the team, even if they made their contributions while wearing the ever-practical, futuristic short skirt. It may surprise you to learn that science fiction's short skirts did not begin with Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek. Space Patrol featured 2 trailblazing women, Tonga, portrayed by Nina Barra, a reformed criminal once known as the Lady of Diamonds, and Carol Carlisle, portrayed by Virginia Hewitt, the All-American Girl. Both women patrolled the dangerous space lanes with Commander Buzz Corey, portrayed by Ed Kemmer, of the United Planets. I almost said United Federation of Planets. Often the women find themselves in the typical damsel in distress role, but they are portrayed as strong and resourceful officers, and when not in distress, make scientific contributions and even pilot Buzz's Terra 5 spacecraft. Rocky Jones' Space Ranger had its own All-American Girl with Vina Ray, portrayed by Sally Mansfield, the spirited translator and navigator of the rocket ship Orbit Jet. Short-skirted Vina is the spunky type, crashing the gate at the Office of Space Affairs to deliver vital information in Beyond the Curtain of Space, a 1954 episode. Vina pushes her way onto the mission whether Rocky wants her there or not. As it turns out, Vina is just in time to meet another spacefaring female, arch-villainous Cleolanta, portrayed by Patsy Parsons, suzerain of the planet Ophiuchus. Cleo looks like a beautiful, bejeweled movie star. She is the queen of a planet after all, but looks incongruous when she runs her own communication system when giving orders to minions. Lois Lane, you may have heard of her, also worked outside the home, albeit closer to home, in Adventures of Superman. Lois was a reporter for the Daily Planet in Metropolis, working beside newsman Clark Kent, portrayed by George Reeves, who just happened to be Superman, the Man of Steel. As portrayed by Phyllis Coates in the first season, Lois was one tough cookie who didn't wait for Superman to rescue her and took a swing at bad guys about once per episode. Coates received equal billing with George Reeves at the insistence of George Reeves. Although Coates stayed with the series for only 1 season, she is my favorite Lois Lane. After Coates departed the series due to other commitments, her successor in the role, Noel Neill, portrayed a softer Lois Lane, still out to best Clark in the newsroom, but more demure, and with the developing romantic attraction to Superman. Neil's Lois was the typical single woman of the 50s, except that she knew a superhero, while Coates' Lane was ahead of her time and would have been at home in our current Ladies with Attitude era. These were small beginnings, of course. The road ahead for representation of female characters on television wasn't a straight one. It detoured at times and even doubled back on itself, especially when it came to the representation of substantive and diverse female characters. But role models and iconic characters continued to emerge in the 60s, 70s, and beyond, giving hints of what women could do when given more varied roles. Some of these iconic characters included Anne Francis as Honey West, Diana Rigg as Emma Peel in The Avengers, Nichelle Nichols as Lieutenant Uhura in Star Trek, and Linda Carter as Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman. For more information on these and hundreds of other female characters in science fiction, fantasy, mystery, and espionage series, please see my books, Television, Female Spies and Crime Fighters, and Women of Science Fiction and Fantasy Television, available in trade paperback and ebook editions. Thanks for joining me today. If you have any questions about this talk or my books, here's how you can get in touch. Visit my website at karenaromanko.com and click the contact button to send an email. You can also find me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all listed as Karen A. Romanko. Thanks again.